Good morning, traders. This is a live trade recap. I took 3 trades this morning, all around 4 a.m. I have them all on video. We're going to go over them right now. As always, I like to start with Webull on the markets pane, and then I click on top gainers, pre-market, select all, and then I organize the stocks by volume, and I'm only interested in the top 3 volume that are also lower float size stocks. The number one can be up to 500 million share float size, and I'll still consider it because if it has that much volume, it can still move. So right now, ANPC was number 1 and CLOV was number 2, but there were no trades to take on those stocks right away. By the time that I had any trades, all my trades were with CLOV. That one was the number 1 stock by volume. So you can see right now it's only 40 seconds into the pre-market, but I'm getting my watch list together. So it's just ANPC and Clov. But this is the thing, this is why you need to look at the chart, not just that, oh, it's the top gainer, because ANPC shows as the number 1 top gainer, but it's actually selling off here in the pre-market. For whatever reason, I don't know if this is true on other screeners, but Webull includes the after hours gains in the top gainers list. So as I said, ANPC is the number 1 on the top gainers list, but that's really because of this move that it had in the after hours. Not so much the 4 a.m. pre-market. So it's kind of like they're including the after hours and the pre-market. So keep that in mind. And then I always mark out the high of the previous session, which I did here on ANPC. This was established in the after hours. So the price now has to break above that level before I can even consider taking an entry. So it's just something I'm just kind of watching and waiting on here. And CLOV, kind of the same thing. It established a high of 10.03 on the previous day, on Friday, and didn't do a whole lot in the after hours. So right now, in order for me to consider taking a trade, it needs to break out through that level and then pull back. And then this is me. I'm recording the volume at the 401 candle on the number 1 top volume traded stock. So this morning, that was 7.11 thousand shares, pretty low. And after I get to about 100 of these records, I'm going to try to figure out if there's any correlation between the size of volume traded on the 1-minute candle and whether or not the rest of the pre-market ends up, with good trading or not, whether I end up green or red. So we'll see. That's going to take a while. So you can see that CLOV is making some moves. At this point, it was number 1 on the list. XPEV popped up in the top 3. It was number 3, but then I checked the float size. It was like 400 or 500 million shares, I think, so I immediately removed it. So here's CLOV looking like it's finally taking off. And it was moving pretty good for considering the float size it was, and it wasn't taking a whole lot of volume to push the price up. So it was definitely interesting to me, but really all that matters is that stuff I just kind of look at for fun. All that matters is whether or not it breaks out through that previous high. ARTL also popped up on the top 3. It was a low float, but it really looked kind of low volume. You can see these dash candles forming over here. Even these have little wicks on them, but usually that's indicative of light volume and there's not going to be a lot of movement. So this is one where typically if I take a trade on this, I'll be in it all morning and it doesn't really go anywhere. So I was very skeptical about taking an entry on this. So here's CLOV finally breaking out through that previous high. So now I'm waiting for a pullback to take an entry on. And here, this was the first trade that actually happened very fast. So this is the pullback here, obviously. So now I'm waiting for a 1-minute candle to make a new high. So this is the candle that, actually this one is the one that needs to make a new high compared to this candle. So that's what I'm watching right now. Let me see, I'm trying to catch myself. Okay, right now the high of this candle is 10.05. So if I see 10.06 or more, I get in. So let's watch this bubble over here. It happens real fast there. It went 10.05 to 10.10 right away, and I got in right at 10.10. And that's not much slippage, 4 cents on a $10 stock. That's less than 0.5% slippage. And the low of this candle is 9.97, so my stop loss is 9.96. So this is where the 2-hour calculator comes in handy. 10.10 and 9.96. So my profit target is 10.38 and the risk is 1.39%. You can download that from the Facebook trading group by the same name as the YouTube trading channel. It's called Trading Armor. And you can see what happened is I got stopped out right away. The stop was the low of this candle. And I took some slippage on the way out. I got filled at 9.91. I don't think I really hesitated or anything or missed it. Let me see. Yeah, just kind of moved fast. I was kind of moving my mouse over to double check where the stop was, and it came down pretty quick. But you could see I didn't really hesitate. I hit my sell all keys and got out, but got a little bit of slippage on the way out. But again, this is a $10 stock, so 5-cent slippage is 0.5% of slippage, so not really a make or break type of a thing. All right, so when that happens, my the next part of my plan says that I have to take the next entry as long as the stock is still number 1 in volume, or in the top 3 volume, I should say, and is still trading above point A, right? So this is, you could say this is point A of the ABCD pattern. Here's B, that's the high, and then this is the pullback, right? We thought that this was C, but obviously it wasn't. You never know until the trading is over if that was actually the end of the pullback or not. And the way that you kind of give it some probability of being the end of the pullback is waiting for a 1 minute candle to make a new high. But here that failed, and it does fail, and especially this month the trading has been terrible, and all of these good setups are failing. But there's nothing I can do about it. This is my plan, and I just have to trade the plan and wait for the energy to come back that we normally see. And that's also why I'm tracking the volume on the first 1 minute candle, trying to make a correlation with, you know, how much energy there is throughout the pre-market to move these stocks up versus the volume on the 1 minute candle. So right now I don't have that data, so I'd be guessing if I was saying, oh, the volume is too light or something like that. So here the high of this candle's 9.95. So if this thing hits 9.96 or more, I have to get in by my plan. Let's see what happens. I think it's pretty quick again. Here's 9.94. I need 9.96 to get in. Actually, it's on the next candle, but it happens right away here. 9.95, and then this one's 9.97, so I'm in. So now my stop loss is actually the low of this candle. And that looks like it's 9.89. So my actual, I didn't move this in the right place. My actual stop is 9.88. And again, that's all plugged into the 2-hour calculator. The entry here is wrong. So yeah, so this trade is even lower risk. So the good thing about even though these trades so far are well, let's see what happens on this one. Almost gave it away there. All right, so no surprise, as the rest of this month has shown us that all these setups are failing. These are the exact same setups that I took all month in March, and I had the best month ever. So it's not the setups, it's just the way things are this month, and we don't know when it's going to end. There's my my stop is hit there at 9.87. I believe my actual stop was 9.88. So just broke it by 1 cent, and again I trigger immediately and get a tiny bit of slippage there, 2 cents. And yeah, so then the next thing, so this is the second trade, and I have to take 3 trades per day as long as the stock stays and the number. Now it's after 4:30 here at this point, so this is where I have a rule that says, because I only trade from 4 to 4:30, but if the stock that I'm trading is still the number 1 volume stock, which this is, then I have to take the next trade on it because it's more likely to work out. And this is an attempt to end up break even on the day or recover most of my losses. And occasionally I end up green on the after taking the third trade if it ends up being a little bit higher risk than the first two trades. Let's see what happened today. So now I'm waiting again for the next 1 minute candle to make a new high. And here it happens right there. Let's watch that in real time. It happens very fast. So I need it to break the top of this candle, which is 993. So if I see 994 or better, I'm in. And in this case, the stop loss would be the low of this candle. All right, there it goes, hits 995, and then I trigger my hotkeys to buy. I get filled at 995, which I think is just 1 cent higher than my ideal entry. And my stop loss is 980, so 1.5% risk. This one looks like it could work out. You know, it's kind of teasing me. But it doesn't. Just more of the same stuff that we're having in April. So the only good thing about all three of these trades, they were all very low risk, and that was just based on the chart. It wasn't something I was seeking out. And actually what it is a sign of the lack of volatility trading right now, because this was the #1 volume traded stock. It was not a really low float, but it was still below my threshold limit of 110 million shares. It was 109, and it just was not making big moves. The #1 top gainer at this time was like 13%. So that's, yeah, a sign of April. There's where my stop loss was hit, and you'll see I hit my hotkeys immediately. The one takeaway here should be that there's no hesitation at all with my entries and exits, and that is essential right now because trading has been really bad this month, and you could start to feel like, oh, come on, you know, these have to work out. This is the best setup of the day. This is the #1 volume stock. I'm just going to ride it out past my stop, and I know it's going to reverse because it's the best setup ever or whatever. You really just can't do that because you don't know what's going to happen with these things. And this thing did continue to sell off. It ended up hitting, I think, a high of like 1045 or something after the market opened, like at 10 o'clock or something like that. I certainly don't want to sit here for, what would that be, 6 hours or so? Yeah, roughly 6 hours, you know, waiting for this thing to hit my profit target and riding it through all of that crap on the way down. No, thank you. I've got better things to do. And a lot of times they don't come back up, you know, and get anywhere near your profit target. So it's best just to take your stops and, you know, move on for the next day. And even if I did wait around, my gain was so small, it's so not worth it. These were so low risk. I would have made 30 cents per share on that trade, and it would have taken 6 hours to play out. No, that's not a good strategy there. So that's it for today's trading, and let's take a look at the spreadsheet. So you can see with all three of those losses, I only lost $2.77, which is a change of 0.4% on the account. So that's not bad at all. You know, when you look at my other red days this month, those are more typical. So this was basically ended up being, you know, that wasn't my intention, but more like practice trading. It would have been nice if, you know, one of these were a green trade or the first one was a green trade. Then, I mean, it wouldn't have made much difference on the overall month because it would have been like, for example, if this thing went green, it actually would have been less than this. It would have been basically $1.70 would have been the profit. So not going to make a big dent on the red month either way. So all three of those were red. So anyway, it was just good practice, I guess, to practice taking your stops and your discipline and continue trading the plan no matter what you see happening in the month, because we don't know when the momentum and the energy is going to happen or going to come back in. If you look at March, the beginning of the month was crazy. It was like every single trade I took, which was the exact same setups you're seeing me take like today, they just worked out like so easily. The first trade, one and done. no problem. And then as the month progressed, things kind of leveled off, and then maybe it was a precursor to what was going on or what is going on in April, is that things were just starting to fail. All these really good, strong setups were starting to fail. So that's where we are right now, just waiting for this energy to come back in. And for now, all we can do is take our stop losses so that when the energy does come back in, there's still money left in the account, which you can see there's plenty of, to take advantage of that energy when it comes back in. So all that matters is that, over the year, that we end up green. So if we have to take a red month this month, we do, and that's it. And as long as we're sticking to the plan and strategy, that's all we can do. And like I said, I'm collecting data on the first 1 minute candle to see if there is any signal that I can come up with to figure out if I should sit out. Right now it's very inconclusive because when I've had, so the highest volume day, there was no trades to take, and the only green day I had was kind of in between. Well, it was on the lower side of volume. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 days that I've tracked this. I need to track it for 100 days for it to make any sense. So far, the data is completely inconclusive. It's the opposite of the hypothesis, which is to say that the higher volume will equal green days. So, but again, we need way more samples before we can draw a real conclusion. All right, guys. So I just like to always leave you with, no matter what, always take your stop losses, honor your profit targets, and in the long run, maybe not this month, but in the long run, you should be green. All right, take care.